GAL.
Hey guys, and welcome to GALP. You might be wondering why I'm covering a rhythm game, especially a drumming rhythm game. Well, I guess I'll have to explain myself here. Rhythm games are secretly my guilty pleasure. And this one I'm obsessed with is Taiko No Tatsujin Rhythm Festival for the Nintendo Switch. We're going to talk about it in a bit, but I am just going to go through the disclaimer. For you new folks, GALP is a weekly gaming discussion podcast under the GAL Podcast Network. We talk about all sorts of games, from big AAA titles all the way to awesome indie games, but our forte is Japanese games, so expect that a lot. We can be found anywhere where you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and now on YouTube. Whilst you're there, be sure to give us a 5-star review and subscribe. And remember, if you want to stay in the loop and join in on the fun, then follow us on our socials: Blue Sky, TikTok, Insta, and X, all at GAL Podcasts. So yeah, you guys know that I am a big fan of rhythm games. I used to play a lot of Vocaloid games, especially the Project Diva series, as well as I'm trying to think which other games I used to play, really. I tried to get into Osu for a bit, but you know, I don't really play games on the PC as such. But yeah, what is Taiko No Tatsujin? Basically, it's a massive arcade game using taiko drums. Honestly, it's such a unique idea, and it brings some level of action back into this genre of game. You can play Taiko No Tatsujin on home console since 2002's Taiko No Tatsujin Taka Kon Di Don Don Ga Don. Wow, that was such a mouthful. With the game being released in arcades a year later in 2001, and even an American release in arcades and the PS2 with Taiko Drum Master. And then Namco decided to no longer bring the game overseas until 2018 with Taiko No Tatsujin Drum and Fun on the Nintendo Switch. Which makes sense. Back when Taiko Drum Master released, anime and gaming and Japanese pop culture was pretty niche. Back in 2004, most people's exposure to anime was through bootlegs or what was airing on Toonami at the time. It's why Taiko Drum Master only had one anime song, which was the American English opening to Dragon Ball Z, which is Rock the Dragon. Fun fact, in the UK and in Canada, we had a very different opening to Dragon Ball Z because we had a different dub. I don't know, it sounded like this: Dragon Ball Z. No, that was Rock the Dragon, actually. No, I'm trying to remember what it sounded like. Oh yeah, Dragon Ball Z. That's what the Canadian and the UK version sounded like. It wasn't Rock the Dragon, which admittedly, Rock the Dragon is so much better than Dragon Ball Z, you know? That's just my personal opinion. But don't knock it until you try it. Have a listen on YouTube. Anyway, the next Taiko No Tatsujin game to make its way to the West is Taiko No Tatsujin Drum Session and Drum and Fun. But let's not talk about that because it got delisted from the Nintendo eShop about 2 years ago, and I imagine it's due to licensing issues and the like. Taiko No Tatsujin uses a lot of licensed music, which is why I imagine that there isn't many English language songs. So it must be easier for Bandai to sort of license music from Japanese and Korean music labels. So let's talk about Taiko No Tatsujin Rhythm Festival in a moment after I explain how I fell in love with the series. So once upon a time, I was in Japan for Tokyo Game Show 2024, and I decided to hit a few arcades, the Gigo arcades, formerly the Sega arcades. And I think Bandai had some arcades as well. But anyway, you'll find these massive drum sets in pretty much every arcade in Japan, and it was staring me down, really. And I can hear some people playing this amazing song by Creepy Nuts, Bling Bang Bang Born, I think. Bring bong bong bring bong bong bring bong bong boom, the opening song to Mashal Season 2. And I gave it a go, and I became super obsessed with the game, so much so that I went to Yobadashi Camera and I purchased a copy of Rhythm Festival, a Japanese copy, as well as the official Hori drum, and I shipped it back to the UK because I couldn't fit it in any of my suitcases. Yeah, let's give you guys an overview of Taiko No Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. It was the Nintendo Switch entry that released on September 22, 2022 in Japan, and September 23 in North America, and 14th of October in Europe of that year. The base game includes 76 songs, while more than 500 additional songs are accessible through the Taiko Music Pass subscription service, with new songs added each month alongside DLC packs. That was another thing. I also purchased some eShop cards for the Nintendo Switch in Japan, because I do have a Japanese eShop account for this very reason. So I had purchased it in Yobadashi camera, and the guy is looking at me and he's like, you know, this is Japanese only, right? And I was like, I had to explain to him that I have a Japanese account, and he didn't understand it, but he just didn't want to sell it to me. And I was like, dude, I was like Google translating it, and I was like, I have a Japanese eShop account. And he was like, okay, cool, I'll sell this to you. I'm guessing because he didn't want some sort of complaint and be like, oh, you sold me this, blah, blah, blah. But I had to explain to him I had a Japanese eShop account. And he was like, okay, cool. So I bought like a 5,000 yen eShop thing, and I purchased 3 months of the Taiko Music Pass because I wanted to experience all the songs in the game, and some songs you can't buy outright as DLC. You have to get them through the Music Pass, which is kind of annoying because if I want to renew it, I need to buy more Japanese cards, and I didn't know that this had European cards and the game was even available in Europe at the time. So yeah, I kind of looped myself into a hole. And to be fair with you, I don't know what music is available in Europe for the European copy of the game, you know, and to be fair with you, it could be the case that this game could be delisted in a few years' time as well. So I kind of wanted the most chance of playing it, and obviously getting it from Japan and using a Japanese eShop account, I kind of feel that they support the game a lot more in Japan because there's a lot more players in Japan than there is in Europe and the like. So yeah, I got the game from Japan, and there's a lot of different game modes, which is the Don-chan-ban, which is basically where players cooperate to perform a song together, up to 4 players. And obviously you can have like computers helping you out as well, and each one has a different instrument, and you play different sections of the song, which is quite fun, and it's a very cooperative way of playing. Like, it is an interesting way as opposed to just the regular modes where you're going up against someone. There's also the Great Drum Toy War, which is so weird. It's basically where players compete playing a song while activating hazards against one another. It's a party game. It's quite fun, actually. And it's like basically you're there to destroy your team. It's like you select a team of toys, and each toy has a particular weakness and strength and special abilities and things like that that you activate in the game. And for example, there'll be ones where it jumbles up the enemy's dons and cars so that they don't know what they're playing, and it's basically like to hinder your enemy and things like that, which is pretty interesting and cool. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever played like Mario Kart and you have like items or things like that. It's very reminiscent of that, like a one-on-one battle type thing, which is pretty cool. It's quite fun. I don't play that mode a lot because if I am playing Taiko no Tatsujin, it's either single player for me or it's with friends and with family members, actually playing through the songs that we may have recognized through anime. Like, there's a lot of Studio Ghibli songs, there's a lot of songs from the Dragon Ball series, from Naruto, there's a lot of Idolmaster songs as well. There's songs from every sort of person to like, I guess. There's classical music as well that's available. There's some K-pop songs. There isn't that many Western songs, and once again, I imagine that is probably because, you know, of licensing issues, which makes sense. Last Christmas by George Michael is available, which is quite interesting, as well as Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, which, you know, considering that the time that the game was released, that would have been quite an outdated song by that point. Once again, I think that's down to licensing issues, but a lot of the Japanese songs, a lot of the viral Japanese songs like Bring Bam Bam Boom, that song is available, because obviously that was something that was very popular at the time with the arcades and things like that. There's a lot of music by Ado. I can't remember if that's the name of the artist, but yeah, let me check actually. Is it ADO or Ado? I don't know. Why is my keyboard not working? Okay, but is it pronounced Ado? Okay, it's brought me to Adobe. That's not what I wanted. I hate this. Ado, yeah. Ado the singer. I'm ready for the show. Yeah, I love that song. I love a lot of the music from Ado, to be fair, and a lot of them is available Uta's song from One Piece Film Red, Ready for the Show. There is a bunch of songs on here as well. I believe there was this music for Spy Family as well. Let me actually just check Taiko No Tatsujin, what is currently there. Actually, there's quite a lot of music in the Taiko Music Pass. Like I mentioned, Bad Guy, TT by Twice. It's also available in the DLC Pops collection. I'm trying to see what else they've got here. BBD Ba, I can't remember. I think that's like a song by VTuber, which is actually an interesting show by Ado is there as well. There is quite a lot of music on the pass, so I can't really go through all of them, but there is quite a lot. So I kind of recommend getting the pass. I don't know if the pass is available in Europe because obviously I got the Japanese version of the game. The pass is quite reasonably priced and you get a ton of songs and it still gets updated to this day, so which is pretty interesting actually. I'm trying to see what else is on here, and there's a lot of Vocaloid music on here, which I'm actually really happy about because I'm a big fan of Vocaloid. Let's see what else they've got. They've got a lot of music for animes as well. Some animes that I don't think maybe Western people might not know about, or maybe they would. I guess obviously there's Doraemon and things like that, but we may have not have gotten the same OPs for Doraemon back then compared to Japan, in the same way that they have a lot of Dragon Ball music, but the Dragon Ball music, unless you watch Dragon Ball in Japanese, you would not get it, I guess, anyway. But yeah, no, you've got a lot of music from My Hero Academia, from Demon Slayer. Trying to think, I think they've got the opening for Evangelion. I'm pretty sure that they do. They've got a lot of songs here as well. I'm trying to see what else they've got. The Creepy Nuts song. They've got, what else do they have? They have a lot of music from Pokemon, which is actually pretty cool. Let's see what else. They've got a lot of songs, a lot of songs. Songs that many people may not necessarily get or appreciate. And I think if you're in the West and you're considering, hey, do I want to get the music pass as opposed to buying certain DLCs and things like that, it's kind of dependent. If you go on the wiki, you can see what's available in the past. It's dependent on what songs you're familiar with. So go to the wiki and see what songs you're familiar with, what animes that you watch, especially. I'm presuming you're going to be buying it mainly for the anime music, and there is quite a lot. They've got My Soul Your Beats, which is the opening theme song for Angel Beats. They've got Snow Halation from Muse, from the Love Live team, from School Idol Project, things like that. So there will be a bunch of different tracks for a bunch of different people. And to be fair with you, you know, they've even got some Disney songs as well in Japanese. They've got Let It Go in Japanese, as well as a bunch of Vocaloid songs. And this is one thing that I am actually very interested in because I like to play Project Diva, and this is on here. One thing that I actually am interested to try is whether or not the Hori controller works with Project Diva, because I know that there was a particular controller that Hori created for Project Diva and stuff like that. So I am curious, because I do have the Project Diva games and stuff on Switch. I am curious whether or not it would work with that. And that's something that I want to discuss now, actually. There are a bunch of different controllers that you can get with this game. The game is relatively cheap to get, especially if you're buying a Switch version. You can find this game available in a lot of shops, physically and digitally as well. I do recommend buying a physical version just in case this gets removed from the digital stores and things like that. And yeah, you can buy the Hori drums. I think for Switch, they don't really sell the Hori drums anymore because the game released 2 years ago. For the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 and the PC, you can buy the Hori drum, and it is a slightly bigger drum compared to the Switch one, but it's the same sort of build. A lot of people feel that it's not as sensitive, and I've seen a lot of mods online where people sort of take apart the drum and take apart the skin and apply tape over the sensors to make them more sensitive, as well as some people put like certain back plates on them, like wooden plates inside, to make it a lot heavier and to sort of increase the bounce. Because I think on the Hori drum, and bear in mind I own a couple of drums for this game, on the Hori Taiko drum, you have to apply a lot of force, and you can't necessarily do rolling moves. Rolling moves is kind of like when you hit once and it sort of makes a number of registered hits, if that makes sense. So it's almost like you're rolling the stick. It's hard to explain without actually showing you. And it actually sounds quite horrible as well because it's a very plasticky drum. It's really good for people that want to get into Taiko no Tatsujin, which I will say, for beginners, for children, right? Especially because it is a smaller drum. I will say that there are bigger drums out there, and if you can't necessarily find the Hori drum, there's a lot of other options, which we'll be going on separate episodes about, and I do want to mention it now in this episode. There's a Rythmagica drum, which is, spoilers here, it is my favorite drum to use for this game. It's really reasonably priced. It's really well built, and you can use it on PC, you can use it on the PS4 and on the Switch, and it has a bass mount on the back as well, and has its own bachi, wooden bachis. I think that they're actually, maybe not wooden, they're made out of bamboo, I'm presuming, but they are good quality, and you get an excellent bounce on them, and it's just really well built. There is also more expensive drums out there, like the Zhong Taiko, which we actually do have in the podcast studio, which is actually kind of insane how big it is. We'll be doing a separate episode on the Zhong Taiko, but basically the Zhong Taiko is a $500 Taiko drum, which is pretty much a one-to-one replica of the Taiko drum that you will find in the arcades. Now, why do I have that? I wanted to review it. I genuinely wanted to review it, and I wanted to kind of give my opinion on it and kind of let you guys know, because there isn't that much videos online, and there isn't that many people in terms of a podcast form discussing it. And the Zhong Taiko is great, and I do have a little bit of nitpicks about it, and we'll kind of discuss that in our dedicated episode. So in the next few weeks, there will be more Taiko no Tatsujin content out, mainly comparing the Zhong Taiko to the Hori drum, and comparing the Rythmagica to the Hori drum, and kind of giving you my opinions on that as well. And I think now that the game is sort of getting more available to a lot of people, the fact that it is just getting worldwide releases in recent years, especially on the PC, because most of the Taiko community, I believe, is on the PC now. And this is kind of what we see a lot of people kind of play, like Osu Taiko and things like that, and sort of mods and all sorts. So Taiko is growing. There isn't that many Taiko arcade machines out there. I think there is a few in the UK, maybe not any in London, but there are people all over Europe. There are some Taiko fans in Germany and France and Netherlands and Italy especially, and introducing this game on so many more platforms worldwide is just an excellent move. So thanks to Bandai for actually localizing this game. And one thing I thought was very interesting, that even though I bought a Japanese copy of the game, and this happens a lot with Nintendo Switch games that I buy from Japan, because my language is set to English, it will automatically download an English patch for the game, which I'm really happy about, don't get me wrong. And I didn't expect it, because I was thinking, oh, you know what, I'll probably have to dust off my Japanese reading skills. And considering this is a game that is meant for the whole family, I was going to expect it that there wasn't going to be much kanji. And then there was no kanji at all because it was all in English. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Anyway, besides the point. So this game is actually rated E for everyone. Everyone can play it. So I don't know. I kind of think if you want to get into Taiko no Tatsujin and you're someone new like me, definitely buy it on the Switch. Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival, and play the game. Just play the game and enjoy it. And if you want to get more into it, then there are so many more things that you can do, right? There is buying the DLC. There is buying actual drums for the game. At the beginning, before the drums arrived, I was playing the game in a similar fashion to Project Diva, in which you just press buttons on a controller. And to be fair with you, I'm pretty good at doing that, and it's pretty easy to play the game that way. It requires a lot of skill to play on the drums, even on the Hori drums, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't recommend jumping straight to something like a Zhong Taiko, because that takes a lot of mastery to kind of get to that point. So if you're someone that is new, maybe start off with a Hori drum. There are a lot of other alternatives out there, and which we'll be doing in a future episode, where we'll be talking about the other drums and accessories that you can get for this game. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I believe next week we'll probably be talking about Fairy Tail 2, if not Dynasty Warriors, if not a follow-up to Taiko no Tatsujin, where we are talking about the controllers and accessories. Anyway, that being said, see you guys.